So my voice is not completely back, but we'll make it make sense with what I have. Even if I get a few voice cracks or it's a bit raspy, I'm sorry. But it's better to the point where I feel comfortable, um, you know, making videos now. So I wanted to talk about how this Celtics trade affects the Bucks. Because like my last two videos, right? One was about the Dame trade. Well, two of them were about the Dame trade and then its implications. But my last video was about the Jrue Holiday trade. But what I realized quickly after making that video and after I had posted everything and whatever is that this trade affects the Bucks more than it affects the Celtics. Let's face it, the Celtics already had veteran point guards. They had Derek White and they had Malcolm Brogdon, which are two guys who have been in the NBA for long enough to be great and to be consistent and to be well known as great players in the NBA. But with people like the Bucks, who just got Damian Lillard, it is a big problem for them, if we're being honest. The fact that they did this trade, the fact that the Celtics went through with this. And I'm going to break that down. First, let's start with the Bucks got Dame, right? They got rid of Jrue Holiday. They got rid of a few other pieces like Grayson Allen and stuff, but primarily it was mostly, one-on-one with a few picks and a few players, but it was Jrue Holiday and picks and Grayson Allen for Dame, basically. So that's not that bad, right? But when we really look at what the implications of that were, was that now your point guard, which is Damian Lillard, is a huge negative on defense, right? Which, even though, yes, Dame is a negative on defense, the Bucks have always been good enough on defense to make it make sense with Brook Lopez at the center, Giannis at the power forward. At shooting guard, they're either going to have Pat Connaughton or Chris Middleton, and however they decide to run their lineup, one of the guys in that lineup are going to be benched or substituted for another player now that Dame came in, right? Like how they work out the lineups is just depending on who do they want starting, right? Now that Grayson Allen and Jrue Holiday are gone. But Dame and Giannis and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton are going to start. The fourth player, I don't know. I don't know which position he's going to play. But what I really want to talk about with this guy, right, and what I really want to say with this new trade that happened with the Bucks is that their point guard position just got a hole on defense. Now, I know that a lot of people don't like to think about it that way. But when we really look at this trade, right, and when we really look at the implications that it has on the Bucks' best defensive position before was point guard and center, right? Like Giannis is great, but Giannis is good at a bit of everything. But it was mostly Brook Lopez and Jrue Holiday really manning that defense on the perimeter. Jrue Holiday, and when they got to the paint, Brook Lopez. Now that Jrue is gone, and you have Dame, which is a point guard which historically doesn't play a lot of defense. How is that going to affect your team? If we're being honest and keeping it sincere, defense is already going to have a hard time guarding the team, right? You need to put a lot of guys out and a lot of guys inside. And there's not enough guys to guard Dame and Giannis and three other players on the court, which include Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez. But when we're being honest about the team's defense, they lost their biggest asset. And this made me think, now that they're direct competitors, the Celtics, which are the only other team which actually poses a real threat to the Bucks this year after they got Dame, got eliminated. They eliminated their point guard rotation just to have Dame and Derek White be, the two guys which they run. It really makes me think like, okay, so they got rid of Marcus Smart, they got rid of Malcolm Brogdon, but they brought in Jrue Holiday and they kept Derek White. Now, what I think about this is now that they have, Tatum and Brown, right? Now that they have Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, and now that they have Jrue Holiday and Al Horford specifically, it's going to be very hard for the Bucks to win. I don't know if you guys remember, but in like 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I think it was 2019, the Pelicans were a young up and coming team, right? Or it was 2018. I don't remember correctly. Where the Pelicans with Anthony Davis were a young up and coming team. That team had Rajon Rondo, Jrue Holiday, and Anthony Davis as their like main guys, and maybe Boogie Cousins if I'm not mistaken, right? That team was pretty good. And in that series of Portland versus New Orleans, Damian Lillard got put in hell by Jrue Holiday. Like, absolute locked up. And I don't know if you guys remember this, last season in 2022, when Giannis Antetokounmpo went up against Al Horford, he got put in hell, right? So when we really look at the history and just the facts, when the Celtics and the Bucks go up in the playoffs, if it happens, if it goes as smoothly as we think it's going to go, then there's going to be a huge issue for the Bucks with the fact that the Celtics can guard them at every single position. Jason Tatum is going to be guarding Chris Middleton, and if it's not, Jaylen Brown. Then we have Jrue and Dame, Al Horford, and, KP, which are going to be guarding the centers. And when we look at all of that and take all of that into consideration, how are the Bucks going to win a championship if they're not even the best team in their conference anymore? And I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. I like the duo of Dame and Giannis a lot, but your rival team is doing everything better than you are. Their point guard is exactly the point guard to stop yours. Their small forward and shooting guard play great defense. Their power forward literally is known for locking up your power forward, and that's the biggest reason why he's in an NBA team, to lock up guys like Joel Embiid or Giannis. And your center, Kristaps Porzingis, is known for being a demon at the rim, and he's also a guy who has consistently been a good shot blocker, even through his health struggles. So when we look at this trade of Jrue Holiday to the Celtics and Damian Lillard to the Bucks, are we looking at an Eastern Conference Finals? Are we looking at a sweep? Are we looking at that maybe one of these teams loses in the first round due to the fact that they just don't fit with their new roster? Because if we're being honest, the Celtics roster is pretty weird, and the Bucks may not figure it out if their stars can't play together. Now, this video was not to be pessimistic. This video was not to make a lot of drama, and this video was definitely not to, throw hate at the top two teams in the East. But all I wanted to say is the reality of the situation. That now the C's have, the Bucks number. And if we're being honest, then we really need to focus on this series when it comes around in the regular season, in the playoffs. Last season, we saw the Celtics consistently smoke the Bucks in the regular season, and I'm pretty sure they would have done it in the playoffs too had the opportunity came. But now that we really see what both of these teams are about and what both of them represent, I think it's time to say that may this be the war. The East, in my opinion, is a great conference, and even though a lot of people don't take a lot of these teams seriously, it is a great conference filled with great teams and a lot of competition. But now that we see that these are going to be the top two teams, it's going to be this two-team battle in the East, and maybe if the Heat can make another run. But I'm excited to see this battle. Tell me what you think, because honestly, I'm really excited for these two teams and what they have to hold. We saw media day today for a few teams, and it's going to keep happening. We're going to get to see Dame. We already saw Dame in his Bucks jersey today, and we're going to get to see, I'm pretty sure Jrue Holiday in his Celtics uniform, etc., and KP. But after all of this, I just want to know what you think. And yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you next video.